morning, everybody. Today has been super chaotic already. We woke up and our entire power system shut off. I actually woke up getting a little spicy with Josh because I thought he was turning the fans off, but it turns out everything just shut off. So we're over at our storage unit. Josh tried to give the system a look today. Apparently we just over discharged our batteries. It's been overcast and rainy the last 3 days straight here in Ohio. So today we're flying no power to try and let it charge back up. And we definitely need to install a DC to DC charger to allow our alternator to charge our batteries as well. Up until this point we've had no problems with our power system, so it was kind of shocking. I'm cooking up some breakfast so that not everything in our fridge goes bad, but that kind of really sucks. And then we've got our Bluetti, thank God for portable power stations, running these little lights for right now. Should be an interesting day, so I thought I would pick the camera up and just share some of the reasons why maybe you shouldn't live in a van, because van life is a little sucky sometimes. Okay, so very slow start to this morning, but we're up and moving. It's been a couple of hours since Josh looked at the system, and he actually had to leave for work this morning. Now it's up at about 75%, and it says the status of our system is normal again, but nothing's turning on. So I honestly really didn't want to pick up the camera this morning. It's so hard to film or just want to share in general when you're not feeling great. But I know this lifestyle can be very over glamorized on social media. But I would like to add that I think every life that you see on social media is very over glamorized, not just van life specific. But I do notice it a lot in this niche of content. As a creator, it is very difficult to want to capture the moments when shit just hits the fan and you're just not feeling yourself. But I feel like going into this lifestyle, it's really important to understand all of the pieces and parts that come along with it. And while there are a lot of those beautiful moments and a lot of freedom to live how you want, there is a lot of things that you're giving up to earn those freedoms. And there's a lot of moments that don't usually end up on camera that are just very, very unglamorous. Like I shared with you guys last week, when things get really chaotic, my go-to typically is to get us a campsite. It feels kind of like a break from the chaos, but it's Memorial Day weekend, which means campsites don't exist. So another thing about van life is that over the years, you'll kind of come to hate public holidays. I experienced this when my sister and I were in Sedona last year. It was Thanksgiving and it was absolute chaos finding camping, campsites, finding parking at hikes. It all gets very crazy on public holidays. Anyway, there's no campsites today. Feeling overwhelmed. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go get an oil change. We are in desperate need of an oil change, so our next stop for the day is Valvoline because I got a Memorial Day coupon, so I guess maybe public holidays are looking up. Okay, so we ended up stopping at the park for a little bit. Haley needed to get some time outside this morning, and honestly just seeing her be happy, no matter what, just enjoying outside and her ball, it just like brings me happy and just reminds me that even though I'm feeling pretty crappy today, it's just a day and there's still good things in the world and there's still a reason to smile. Anyway, So our batteries, because they're saying they have enough charge, I texted Josh. The inverter's turning on now, but nothing else. So we're thinking that the breaker switch might just be like, need to be flipped. He sent me a photo. Apparently I can access it from behind the fridge. So we're gonna see if we can figure that out. I think I got it. I heard a sound. Guys, moment of truth. Yay! Oh, yay! Lights! Okay, in order to do that, I had to pull our fridge all the way out. So now I have to figure out how to get it back in. I would also like to know how sweaty I got in literally the 5 minutes that it took me to do that. Thank God the fan is back running. And sometimes I wonder why I even bother getting ready in the morning. So we had all this set up last night to use this morning, and I think now that the power's back on, this calls for a celebratory coffee. Yay! I'm so happy. Also just thought I should maybe mention that the power system was at 90% before I decided to run the coffee maker. We are choosing Valvoline for a couple of different reasons. The first is that you're allowed to stay in your car. When you have service done on a van, you usually have to leave it for a couple of hours. Sometimes they'll just keep it for the day and work on it, you know, when it's your turn to get work done. And that's just kind of chaotic for us to be without our house all day, especially since we do have a dog with us. So Valvoline is just the easier way to go, especially when we're not like staying somewhere. So I'm gonna get an oil change really quick. And I do definitely think that that is one of the parts of van life that people don't talk about as much as they should, is how overwhelming it can be to be without your house. There are regularly scheduled maintenance things that come up with vans. Lord forbid you have a bigger breakdown and you're out of your house for a couple of weeks. And a lot of times with dealerships, since this van is under warranty, it can take a couple of weeks to even get in to get work done in the first place. So then you have a vehicle that you can't rely on or possibly can't even drive, and you're still gonna be out of a house weeks before you even get your service done. We've had this happen a couple of different times, and the amount of stress that it puts you under to have your entire life uprooted like that is a lot, and I definitely think it's something that people should be aware of before considering this lifestyle, and it's a very unglamorous part of this lifestyle. While we're discussing mechanics, and if you're not going the warranty dealership route, it can also be really difficult to find reliable and trustworthy mechanics. I personally have had a couple of instances where we were overcharged, lied to, told that we needed parts that we maybe really didn't need to get replaced, and we ended up spending a lot more money than we needed to. So watch out for that as well. I've noticed that I tend to be more susceptible for falling for stuff like this when we're broken down just out of urgency to get the van fixed and get the van back. Yeah, so that's another pretty sucky thing about van life. Right now we're just waiting in this line. It doesn't look too long, and honestly I have literally nothing better to do anyway. Still trying to stay away from using the power too much, so Haley and I have been going on lots of walks since it does kind of get stuffy in the van without running the fan, and this just seems like a good way to enjoy some air conditioning and waste a little bit of time until Dad gets home. This is a first, but they're having the back out today. van. That's so funny. I've never had that happen before, and I've been to this Valvoline a couple of times. I guess they thought it might be easier for me to maneuver backing out instead of pulling the rest of the way through the garage. And they all just looked so concerned with like me backing up this giant van. The one lady was even like, I just bought a truck and it gives me so much anxiety. I guess it just feels kind of normal to me at this point. Okay, we made it out. Fresh oil, yay! That's so funny. Feels good to have gotten something productive done today. And hopefully I impress them with my van maneuverability skills. Kind of random, but I've seen 12, 22, and 222 today, so I don't know, that feels kind of reassuring. I spent the rest of the afternoon at one of my favorite parks in the city. It's one of the only places here where I can really feel alone and at peace for a few minutes, and today I really needed it. The next day, the lights turned on as usual, and it honestly felt so good to have a normal start to my day. While yesterday was a little crazy, it was a good reminder for me not to take all these little, seemingly normal moments of my life for granted. And honestly, van life teaches me this lesson pretty often. I know this video has been mostly negatives about this lifestyle, but I wanted to paint a more full picture of van life this week. And that includes all of these beautiful, messy moments. And I'm so grateful for all of them, and I wouldn't change a thing. It is not even 10 o'clock and it's already hot. I've got the door cracked. I don't usually leave our doors open at parks in the city. I just notice a lot of people staring at me and it makes me uncomfortable. But on hotter days, I don't really have an option. The airflow from having the doors cracked at least makes a huge difference. So instead of a second coffee this morning, I'm having a LaCroix because we can fit them in the fridge. Decided not to worry about getting ready for the day today. It's gonna be 90 degrees, which means I'm just gonna sweat all day long, so it doesn't really matter. Especially somewhere where it's humid, it gets very stuffy in here very quickly. I try and get all of my errands or anything like that done in the mornings or in the evenings in the summer. We do not leave Haley alone in the van when the temperatures are high. So now that we're moving into the summer season, I'm kind of having to readjust my daily schedules and push my workout until the evening. It might be kind of nice to shower and go to bed every night anyway, so I'm gonna see how that works. But that's something that really does kind of suck about van life, especially if you're traveling with a pet. You lose a lot of the freedoms that you get when you move into a van with an animal. When Josh and I are working in-person jobs, we have to kind of scatter our schedules, so we're working opposite hours to take care of her, which means I'm really only able to work nights and weekends, which isn't my favorite. I can't go in and enjoy the air conditioning somewhere, get work done at a cafe to relieve myself from the heat because she can't come with me. I also noticed that I get like 10 times more irritable when it's hot out, so I tend to just be like really grumpy. I feel a lot more flighty and prone to like not want to be here anymore. And I noticed like Josh and I just getting into tiffs a little bit more often when we're uncomfortable. So since Haley and I will be spending the afternoon at this park, it's really nice out right now, so hopefully we can kind of just enjoy the morning before it gets too crazy hot. But another thing that I've really been missing lately about, I don't know, house life, my life before van life, whatever you want to call it, I used to be such a crafty person. I absolutely love DIY projects, crafts of any kind. I paint. I used to love collecting like thrifted furniture or furniture that people are throwing away and like repurposing it. And that's just something that there isn't really a lot of space for in a van and on the road. I've just really been feeling like I need a creative outlet lately, and I haven't been feeling like myself. So I'm gonna get my paints out today. I do keep a little bit of craft supplies in here. There's not a ton, but it feels like a good day to throw the back doors open and do a little bit of painting. I don't know if you guys have this where y'all live, but we have this thing, I don't know, I call it summer snow. All these little like wispy pieces from the trees. They almost look like the things that you like blow and make a wish. Anyway, they're like all in the air and flying around. There are a bunch of them flying into the van. They really aggravate my allergies, so we'll see how long I keep the back doors open, but for now this seems like a nice little setup. Sometimes I almost kind of wonder like if I've lost pieces of myself through van life. Like I mentioned earlier, I gave up a lot of like my hobbies or things that I really used to like love doing or be really interested in. A lot of those have fallen away through the years, and I sometimes feel like my main personality trait is that I live in a van. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but when you do uproot your entire lifestyle and move into a vehicle, it really does become a huge part of your life. It's become a huge part of, you know, my business, my creativity. It's all centered around the van. This light is weird. Is that better? Okay, I think that's better. Anyway, it's my content and all my creative outlets have also kind of become centered around the van. So it just sometimes feels like that's the only interesting thing about me anymore. And it kind of scares me sometimes, but I mean, I also know that that's not true. So I find myself sometimes when I think about like moving out of a van in the future, I find that it scares me a little bit because so much of my identity has become wrapped up in the van and van life, or being a nomad, whatever you want to call it. I just want to make sure I leave room in my life to explore, you know, all the facets of life and enjoy all parts of life. I've been trying to be a little bit more intentional lately on doing things that are a little unvan related, if that makes any sense. It's super cool to see how much that I've changed over the last few years of living in the van, how much my personality's changed, how much my interests have changed. I used to be like really outgoing. I loved being in the city and going out, and now that's like my idea of a nightmare. And I think that's one of the really special things about van life is it really does push you so far out of your comfort zone so regularly that you get this kind of like fast-tracked like growth period, but it can be really startling, and I feel like I'm a completely different person than I was before. And I've noticed that a lot in a lot of different areas of my life, but I've noticed it particularly recently with like friendships. That's another part of van life that can be like really difficult. When you first transition to living on the road, you're not around as often, and that really does change the dynamic of a friendship. If someone is used to you being around all the time, available all the time, and that just suddenly goes away. Over the years, I've had friendships not necessarily end, but they've just kind of slowly fallen away. I just don't keep in touch with people as often, and it definitely has changed the way I go about building friendships, maintaining friendships, and just what friends have stayed around and what friends haven't. I do have a few really close friends, a couple of them from before van life, and it's just been an interesting experience to navigate a friendship and a big change like that. It's also been really cool to have so much access to technology through this experience. I feel really connected even when I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I can pick up the phone, FaceTime a friend, spend some time talking with my family, those kind of things, and it really helps me to maintain friendships on the road and be intentional with the time that I spend with someone. I actually have a FaceTime with one of my best friends tomorrow night, and we plan them ahead of time, and I always have to let Josh know ahead of time as well, because me being on a call in here, he's also in here. So that's been kind of funny and interesting to navigate. A lot of my friends, when we do FaceTime, kind of understand that Josh is probably here. So that does kind of affect the privacy that you're able to have in your friendships as well, having your partner around. There's just a lot of little things about van life that I never would have thought to expect prior to van life. Yeah, and it's just been kind of interesting to recognize those along the way, and I've just been thinking a lot about it this week, so I thought I would share a little bit. Weird. Anyways, that's all for me this week. I know this one's been a little bit crazy, but honestly recently I've just been struggling a little bit with comparing my life to others online. And the more I thought about it, I realized I'm really only sharing the highlights of my life too. So I wanted to share something a bit more realistic in the hopes that it can help someone out there realize that every life has its highlights, but it also has lows, and my life is so beautiful and so is yours. So here's to not comparing our journey to others and just enjoying the ride we've ended up on. I'll see you next Tuesday.